Hello, I'm Eric Corman, CEO at League of Education Voters and the parent of a high school junior of the global majority in the public school system who is accessing special education services. I advocate because of my son, so that every student can get what they need, when they need it, and how they need it. This webinar has closed captioning. To access captioning, just click on the live transcript button at the bottom of your screen. Spanish interpretation is also available. To access this webinar in Spanish, in your webinar controls at the bottom of your screen, click Interpretation, which is the icon that looks like a globe, and then click Spanish. And if you want to hear only Spanish without the original English in the background, click Mute Original Audio. Special thanks to Alicia Linera Bidi, who is our interpreter. If you have any technical issues, feel free to use the chat function, which I will monitor throughout the webinar. In case you're not familiar with us, League of Education Voters is a statewide nonprofit working with families, educators, and leaders to create learning environments where every Washington student feels safe, supported, and a positive sense of belonging so that they can achieve academically and access the life they choose. Our website is educationvoters.org. We believe that education is a tool for justice. One of the systems that perpetuate racial and disability injustice experienced by global majority communities is our schools. We believe every child deserves an excellent public education that provides equitable opportunities for success. In order to achieve this, we must pursue radical change in our school systems for equity, justice, and liberation. We must build schools and systems that honor the humanity of every student. Welcome to our free online webinar series, Lunchtime Webinars. We started this series 12 years ago to share information and build knowledge on important and timely issues. Today's webinar is about school-led strategies to help Washington students complete financial aid applications. We will spotlight effective practices from Washington high schools that are leading the way in helping students complete financial aid applications. In alignment with Governor Ferguson's Washington Completes FAFSA executive order, today's webinar will feature high schools sharing innovative, equity-driven strategies to boost FAFSA and WASFA completion, student voices from across the state offering feedback on what works and what doesn't, and remarks from Governor Ferguson on the importance of financial aid access and his vision for the statewide campaign. And now I would like our panelists to introduce yourselves, starting with the students. Feel free to popcorn to whoever you'd like to go next. I'll just go ahead and call on Misha.
Hi everyone, my name is Misha Sitsu. I'm a student at Kent Ridge High School and I've already filled out my FAFSA application, so it's very helpful with that. I'm a student in DECA and I'm very involved in it, as well as I'm a part of AWSL, and I'm really excited to be here today. I'll popcorn it to Aanchal.
Hi everyone, my name is Aanchal Batwara and I'm a senior at Tesla STEM High School, and today I'm representing the Association of Washington Student Leaders alongside Mason and Misha. And I haven't filled out my FAFSA form yet, and I wanted to explain some reasons why I haven't and some strategies I'd like to propose to our school administrators today. Thank you.
I'm Mason Gross. I am a senior at Tudor Lake High School in Southwest Washington. I am from the Association of Washington Student Leaders Student Voice Network. I've been involved with AWSL for multiple years now. I'm also involved on the national level with Providence's Work to Be Well program, which is a youth mental health program across the US and now internationally. And then I also own my own business, Lewitt Link, providing IT resources to small businesses near Southwest Washington.
Great, and we'll go ahead and move on to Jasmine. Why don't you go ahead and then feel free to popcorn to whoever you'd like to go next.
Good afternoon. My name's Jasmine Aldaco. I am a counselor at Granger High School in Central Washington. I'm heading into my fourth year, second time having seniors, and I just am excited to share some effective strategies that our district utilizes. So I'll popcorn it to Raul.
Hello, everybody. My name is Raul Sanchez. I am a regional college access manager for the Northeast region of the state of Washington, and I'm from the College Success Foundation. I will popcorn it to Sarah.
Hi everyone, good afternoon. My name is Sarah Weiss. Weiss is nice. You can remember our time together hopefully with that. I serve as the Director of College Access Initiatives at the Washington Student Achievement Council, or WASAC, which is a state agency tasked with financial aid completion, among other financial aid and college going efforts within the state of Washington. And I'll popcorn it over to Dan.
Thank you, Sarah. My name is Dan Eflin. I'm a teacher and school leader and system leader, and I work at Summit Public Schools, a network of charter public schools. And I was previously the school leader both at Summit Sierra in Seattle and Summit Atlas in West Seattle. And I'll be talking a little bit about some of the strategies that we use to support young people and families to complete the FAFSA. And I will pass to Alicia.
Actually, Alicia is our Spanish interpreter.
Oh, great.
So yeah, no worries. Really appreciate Alicia being here. And thank you all for being here too. Really, really, really appreciate it. To begin today's webinar, I would like to acknowledge that we are on the ancestral and unceded traditional lands of the 29 federally recognized and non-federally recognized tribes in Washington state, including the Chehalis, Chinook, Colville, Cowlitz, Duwamish, Hoh, Jamestown Sklallam, Kalispel, Lower Elwha Clallam, Lummi, Makah, Muckleshoot, Nisqually, Nooksack, Port Gamble Sklallam, Puyallup, Quileute, Quinault, Samish, Sauk-Suiattle, Shoalwater Bay, Skokomish, Snoqualmie, Spokane, Squaxin Island, Stillaguamish, Suquamish, Swinomish, Tulalip, Confederated Tribes of the Umatilla Indian Reservation, Upper Skagit, and Yakima. We give thanks to elders both past and present, our Native and Indigenous colleagues, and the land itself. A couple of housekeeping items before we begin. You'll notice a Q&A function at the bottom of your screen. This is a space for you to submit questions to us. If time permits, we'll have about 10 minutes for questions after the panel discussion wraps up. As always, feel free to send any feedback about the webinar quality to us on the chat function or at info@educationvoters.org. And speaking of the chat function, you're welcome to use it to check in and comment on anything you hear. Welcome Aanchal, Mason, Misha, Jasmine, Dan, Raul, and Sarah. I'm going to start off with a message from Governor Ferguson. He recorded this especially for us about his executive order. And then after that, students will be sharing exactly what their experiences with financial aid applications have been or will be. But first, I'll go ahead and share my screen.
Hey students, I'm Washington State Governor Bob Ferguson, and I've got my wife and I have twins who are seniors in high school. So one thing I know is kind of the stage you're at in life and trying to figure out how to pay for college or for a post-high school training. And one thing we've heard is that trying to figure that out is one of the biggest reasons that poses a barrier for young people to continue education beyond high school. But we have good news for you. The good news is Washington State literally has the most generous package of financial assistance for young people of any state in the country. Think of it this way. Nearly half of Washington households qualify to receive financial aid through the Washington College Grant. It's also known as WA Grant. So in other words, probably half of the folks who are listening right now no doubt qualify for this. And this money can be used for registered apprenticeships, qualifying on-the-job training programs, universities, and private colleges. So just about anything you might be thinking about doing after you complete your schooling, this can help. Here's the catch. You got to fill out the free application for federal student aid, known as the FAFSA form. That's the way you can access the WA grant. It also, by the way, unlocks federal grants and loans and scholarships. And I want to really emphasize undocumented students are eligible for WA grant as well. That's the good news. Here's the bad news. The bad news is that in Washington State, we literally rank like 48th out of 50 states in terms of having students complete the FAFSA form. So we have the most generous program available, but we got one of the lowest rates of students completing the form. So we want to change that. So I recently signed an executive order, something I can do as governor, earlier this month, to establish a Washington Completes FAFSA campaign. We're bringing together students, school district officials, university representatives to really track our completion goals, set those goals, and put together a campaign to get the word out. So the financial aid portal opened on October 1st. I really encourage you, talk to a counselor, get some help. talk to a family member. You just have no idea how much financial aid you might qualify for unless you fill it out. So again, encourage you to reach out, get your questions answered, complete the form, and it really has a strong chance of unlocking a lot of assistance for whatever you might want to do next. Hey, good luck to you in your future, and thanks so much.
Okay, well, thank you, Governor Ferguson, for that. And now I'd like to move on to students. So Mason and Aanchal, Jasmine, I'm sorry, and Misha, what was your experience like, either filling out the FAFSA or thinking about filling out the FAFSA? And I know, Misha, you mentioned that you had already done it. So what was your experience?
My experience as a first generation student was it was a little bit difficult to navigate when I was trying to do it on my own, at least because I didn't really understand a lot of the terms in there, I guess. So it was a lot of personal research I had to do on my own. But I think a big thing that helped me was actually going to my mom and getting her to help me. She didn't go to college, so she isn't sure about this financial aid stuff. But at the same time, she also researched, she learned, and we were able to fill it out together. We started it on October 1st when it opened because we were really concerned about having enough time to really fill it all out. But I think it was a really good spot for me and my mom to be in to be able to help each other figure it out.
Great. And Aanchal or Mason, feel free to pop on it.
Yeah, I know I have not filled out my FAFSA or WAFSA yet. I definitely will be, but it will definitely be a process that I sit down with both of my parents to walk through just because there's a lot of information that both parties need to understand to go through. And just as Misha said, there are complex terms that some people may not know, and we may have to do research together.
I also have not filled out my FAFSA form yet, and I think I come from a like financial affluent community, and so a lot of people at my school, when I talked to them in the last few weeks, a lot of them either like have no idea how to do FAFSA or like they've gotten some help from like their college counselors and their parents. But I think that overall, like in my school and my community in general, we don't have very much information on how to fill out FAFSA. A lot of our counselors sometimes kind of give us the like there's like a form that our counselor sent out for like senior meetings and college letters of rec, and a small like checkbox was, did you fill out FAFSA? But a lot of us, we kind of think either we don't even know what FAFSA is or we know it's financial aid, but a lot of us are like, do we even apply for like would we even get money? But a lot of us don't know that it doesn't matter what your income is. It's just more important that you apply because you can still get financial aid for like different circumstances. So I haven't applied, but I plan to, and I really want to work with my school and try to get more students to also apply in my community.
Great. Well, thank you so much for sharing. And Anchal and Mason, feel free to pop in as the schools present their strategies, as well as College Success Foundation, and when Sarah from the Washington Student Achievement Council shares resources. So appreciate you being part of the discussion. So next, we'll get presentations from Granger High School and Summit Public Schools. And then Raul from College Success Foundation will share their strategies that they use across the state to help students fill out their financial aid applications. And then finally, Sarah from WASAC will share some resources. So Jasmine, the floor is yours.
Okay, good afternoon. As I mentioned previously, my name is Jasmine Aldacco, counselor here at Granger High School in Central Washington. So I just have a small presentation that I put together to talk about effective strategies that we at Granger have either implemented or will be planning on implementing to encourage students to fill out the FAFSA WASFA applications. So this here is the public information from the WASAC webpage. I'm sure Sarah will go into a little bit more depth. So our school at this point, these get updated weekly. We have 25% of our students have completed their FAFSA applications, which is a quarter of the way there, which is really nice, being 22 days into the start of FAFSA season. And this just helps us narrow it down to say like, okay, we're right in par with other schools of our size in our state. And so this is where we rank within our EWAC standings of those with similar school sizes and such. And then through the WASFA financial aid portal, as a counselor, I have access to see individualized students who have yet to complete their application, and then just a little bit more features on the back end. Of course, I can't share that. But what I do want to share is that last year we ranked about 4th or 5th in the state in FAFSA completion. We had 80% of our students complete their financial aid through the FAFSA portal. And so this was a really huge win for our district, for our school. To put into perspective, this doesn't account for students that completed WASFA applications as well. And so there is really no sort of tracking system for that, just to protect the identities of those students. But with the district that is very small, and 80% is a really good number. And then this year we hope to improve that as well. And so I guess just some initiatives that we've taken is all of our seniors, if it fits within their schedule, have to take a college and career prep class semester 1 and a personal finance class semester 2. So these are some assignments that our seniors actually completed themselves. So our instructor, Mrs. Bateman, went ahead and had the lesson, and then students were then tasked with completing either a FAFSA or a WASFA presentation, whatever application they chose to, pick and provide information on. And these infographics have been posted around the school. Of course, they're checked for clarity and any, misinformation and typos, because of course our students aren't, the professionals in it either. But it's just a really cool opportunity for the students to learn about this important funding source for them to help pay for post-secondary education. And in addition to that, they had this application or this assignment provided to them before I made my way into the classroom to then help them complete their student portion of the FSAID creation and the student part, as well as FAFSA identification. And so I was just walking around, made myself available, myself and my colleague, and we actually helped, I would say 80% of students that day complete their student account for the FAFSA, as well as the student portion for the FAFSA. And so this event was leading into our financial aid night that we held on October 13th, and we had various partners that participated within that. And so we had Yasleen from WASAC that attended. We also had a ESD 105 representative. And so I am just, very thankful for all my resources and opportunities that community members put themselves out there to help our schools and our students with this, especially coming from a smaller district. We, definitely try to reach out for as much support as we can. And so this is just the text message communication platform that our district utilizes within our website, ThrillShare. And so this is just an example of a text message that I sent out to our families. I sent it out the day before, twice on the day of, and then an hour prior to the event starting. It had our infographic information on it in English and Spanish, because we come from a very Hispanic population of a community, and Spanish is the primary language. So we are sure to make sure that we include every kind of information for families in English and Spanish. In addition, our principal has taken a huge initiative to mention college going culture within our school district. So this is an example of what our sports flyers look like. If you're going to a football game, every person that attends the football game will be given this. Of course, on the inside, it has our football players and all that fun stuff, right? But this is the front. And then we have the back, as well as our college going culture with our college and the high school classes, in addition to our on-site admissions, right? Recognizing our students, taking that opportunity for post-secondary possibilities. And so that's just a little bit about what Granger High School is doing. We're tiny but mighty, and we're looking forward to this FAFSA completion process within this school year. My first year was in 2024 as the counselor, and we all know how FAFSA was that year with the new integration of the easier application, which wasn't so easy. And so I'm really excited to kind of spearhead this initiative within our school district, and we have our hearts set on reaching a certain goal if possible, and we plan to do that with different approaches that we have. So thank you so much for this opportunity, and I'm happy to answer any questions anybody might have.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Jasmine. This is fabulous. I'll give our students the first crack at it. So Aanchal and Mason, do you have any questions or any takeaways?
May I ask a question? So when I think about my district, we recently experienced budget cuts, and so our school periods were shortened down to 6 periods instead of 7. And I wanted to ask about, some kids want to take certain electives or different required blocked periods. And so how do you work around the required classes, and if a student would like to take another class instead of the career development class, how would you work around that, and how would they get the required information and learning that they would get through the financial classes and the career development classes?
Yeah, so that's a great question. It's honestly a question that has been brought to my attention for students who might be either credit deficient and need other courses to meet graduation requirements, or in addition to students wanting to challenge themselves to more rigor college level, right? And what I do is I just take an individualized approach. I have that opportunity with only having 118 seniors. So I have that opportunity to meet with those students on an individual level. We have our Gear Up and our migrant graduation specialist as well that kind of helps spearhead this approach. And so I am sure to try to touch base with those students at the very least. And then we also utilize a Google Classroom. So that's where I'm posting, I call it my Scholarship 101. I'm posting all scholarships in there for students to access. And I just really try to make myself available to my students. So hopefully that answers it. I know it's, it's kind of a work in progress at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I go to a really small school. My class size is around 145. So I meet regularly with my counselors, and so I completely understand. Yeah, thank you.
Great. Mason, go ahead.
Yeah, I think your approach is really amazing. I think having students engaging in creating those graphics and presentations and coming into an information night and just having those on flyers around the school, that's just amazing. And I think that really does help push your school to the top of the completion rate. I come from a class size of 40 graduating seniors this year, so I'm from a really, really small school that we're all on one campus. Our whole district is one campus. So I think definitely that is an approach that I can talk to a counselor about bringing to our school as well.
Great.
I think we also have a question in the Q&A.
Yeah, we do. And yeah, Jasmine, this actually might apply in Granger too. So the question is, many students are having to delay their college or post-high school plans due to elder care in their families. How are you helping them with their dreams?
Yeah, so I guess with this approach, in terms of students that are wanting to potentially take a gap year or maybe post-secondary education isn't on their radar, we are still highly encouraging students to fill out the FAFSA or WASFA, just because I kind of frame it in the sense of like things change within a matter of time. It might be August and you decide, hey, I want to go to a community college. And I've had students time after time come to me, Miss, do you think you can help me with this? Like, yes, of course, sit down. But at the same time, they are potentially losing opportunities of grants and funding sources and stuff when other packages have already been built. And so I am really encouraging them to try to get this application, filled out. It doesn't hurt you in the end if you decide that you don't want to go. You're not put onto like the back burner if you decide to take a gap year and go the next year. Like, it's completely okay. People understand life happens. And so I just try to get the point across is like, it doesn't hurt you to fill out your financial aid application. Same thing as filling out a college application, right? Like you're not married to it. You don't have to commit to them until May. That's when the decision time happens, but let's just try to be proactive and take that approach. And so hopefully that answers their question. But yes, I mean, that definitely happens within our community as well. We have a lot of students that want to go out and get a job after high school to help their families. Like, that's amazing. That's great. We will definitely not hold them back to pursue those aspirations. But in the end, I try to have that conversation with the parents as well to then encourage them to say, like, you guys also take a point and you also are providing support in filling out this application as well. It's not just the students' efforts, it's the family efforts as well. And so really just educating them on both of those aspects.
Great. Yeah, thank you. And then the last question that I have, unless Dan and Raul and Sarah have questions, I know that in the community around Granger, there are a number of families who might be of mixed status or might be undocumented. How do you work with those families and students?
Yeah, so we're providing a lot of information and content within their native language. And so primarily for us, that's Spanish. We have a lot of counselors and supports here that are bilingual speaking. Unfortunately, myself, I don't speak Spanish, but I understand it to an extent. And so I'm able to sit there alongside with the students and families if the student's willing to help kind of get my message across to them. Or we have our migrant graduation specialist who is bilingual, or secretaries, right? We utilize our resources to help translate that. And then in terms of filling out the family portion, we let them know, right? You need to bring in any sort of information that you have that's required within the federal, the FAFSA application. questions, if they need assistance or help getting that, or trying to figure out if they even filed for taxes in 2024, right? There's a lot of different approaches that we have to take, and those kind of conversations are happen on a one-on-one level. I would never single out a parent or a family during our information nights or completion nights. You know, if they're having issues logging in when we have our big completion night in the media center, I'll let them know, hey, let me write your name down. I will call you. We will have you come in at a time that works for you. If it's 6 o'clock in the afternoon, I will be here. We will get this going, and we'll make it happen on a more individualized, confidential level, just because these are tough conversations at times that we're having to have with our families.
Yeah. Well, obviously you're doing something right, because having a completion rate of over 80% is massive. So really appreciate that the work that you're doing. And it should be a little bit easier this year, because the new FAFSA has a lot fewer glitches this year than it did last year. So again, thank you so much for presenting. And yeah, feel free to stick around for questions as more come up. Dan, you had an amazing completion rate at Summit Atlas. I believe it was 88%, which is, again, incredible. What did you do? How did you achieve that?
Yeah, thank you, Eric, and thank you, Jasmine. I think I have a little presentation to share too. We're going to see a lot of overlap with what Jasmine's doing at Granger too. There's some key principles I think that presentation really highlighted, and so this will in some ways be repetitive, and I think that's actually a great lesson on, like, there are kind of a set of practices that really work. So let me do my screen share and I'll get us started. All right. So, Summit Public Schools is, we are a system of charter public schools. And we have a school in Seattle, in the kind of the Central District area, or kind of between the ID and the CD, called Summit Sierra, and then another school in West Seattle, Summit Atlas. I had the privilege to be the leader at both. But I spent more time at Summit Atlas, and that was my prior position before the role I'm in right now. As you'll see from our vision and mission, the idea of being prepared for life after high school is kind of the core of our work. And so everything we're doing is backwards planned from that. And much like what Jasmine is sharing at Granger, we want to make sure that our young people have all the doors open, and families and students know what the right choice is for them, and they're going to make that choice. But our job is to make sure that every door is open. And one of those is definitely college or university. The way that I kind of think about it when I was putting this together is that there are three main parts, and then I repeat one because of how important it is. So the first is culture. Like, what is your culture around belief in students' ability to access college? Ours is like unambiguously every single student deserves access to a four-year college. Not every student will make that choice, and we trust families and students to make the choice, but it's not a choice if you don't have options. And so we want to make sure, similar like to Jasmine's question to John in the chat, like, there's no harm in going through the process, completing the FAFSA and having the door open, and you can always choose to do something different. So it starts really with this culture of completion for everyone. So this was I pulled this data. I pulled it from more in the spring than the end of the year. Granger's is going to come up here and be like, we're all very close together in the 80s because they're doing awesome work too. The reason I highlighted May 5th, and I think all the systems on this chart probably feel the same way, is that part of that culture is realizing that FAFSA is a part of the process for every student. And in particular, it needs to be a part of the process early in the process when families are still making decisions. If you're having students fill out the FAFSA after they've decided to go to college, then you're already filtering and sifting who gets access and who doesn't. And so we want to make sure that every student deserves that access, and that financial aid is an essential piece of information early in the process. Because if you know what kind of aid package is available to you, then you can make informed decisions about the best direction to go. And so we insist that that's part of the process in the fall. And so, like, our students have been talking about, Misha, it sounded like it already filled it out, and Aanchal and Mason are working on it, but this is the time of year to do that. And the other thing around culture is that we really believe that it's every adult's job to support our young people launching into their post-secondary life, and that means access to as many options as possible. And I really heard that in Jasmine's presentation too, the work she's doing, the work the other counselors are doing, the way the principal was talking about college. That's a great example of that kind of, like, everyone is a part of this. It's not any single person's job. From the leadership side, as I was in the principal role, I found that there were a couple of things that were really essential. You want to set a goal, a very clear goal. What is the percent we're going for? And make that goal really clear to students. from the start that our expectation is that you're also filling out the FAFSA and the WASFA, and that's part of this process. And we're going to be there to support you through it. You're not on your own with it. It's important to have an administrator. It could be a counselor, it could be an assistant principal, but someone who's like kind of the point person for it. And then for my position as the principal, to hold that person accountable to that data. And we had, like Jasmine, we had an amazing lead at Summit Atlas for this as well as in Summit Sierra. We also focused a lot on training. These data systems are a mess. And so really making sure that whoever your point person is has access to the right trainings to understand how the technical systems work. If they're an experienced counselor, they're good to go. But if you're bringing someone new into that role, they need support navigating these state and federal systems to be able to actually pull the data because they're not necessarily intuitive. And that person has to be supported like anyone else. We like to do our education with students and teachers together. We have a mentor system, which is like an advisory system, but we often put together webinars that the teachers and students watch together. So they're co-building this knowledge of how to operate through the system. That means that one, if we have turnover in a teacher position, they still have the opportunity to learn the process and we're not relying on people to remember it from years prior. But it also just puts students and teachers in kind of the same in a partnership role around like, this is a complex system. It's not always easy to operate. We're doing this together. And we found that's really effective. And then also just like Granger, having these evening events where we support families is really, really key. We call it Cash for College Night. I buy a ton of pizza. We bring a bunch of people in and we're there for hours and we really as long as is needed. And one thing that we found, and again, like I said, there's a lot of similarities to what Granger was doing. The college admissions folks from the area universities and colleges will come and support because their job is to try to support young people and get young people to apply. So if you ask those folks, they will come and support. And that way you can have maybe more people ready to sit around with a computer and people's forms and everything and help people fill out this very complicated form. All right. And then I just added culture back again, because I think this is key for school systems who maybe aren't doing what Granger's doing or what Summit's doing already. If you can start with a culture, but you can also build culture through leadership and training. And so if you don't already have this culture like they have at Granger, where it's an expectation and we're supporting all students and the principal is talking about it and the adults are all on board, you can actually build that through strong leadership and through training. And so culture at the beginning or the end. There we go. I'll stop the share. And anybody that has any questions, I'd love to talk more about it.
Great. Yeah. Aanchal and Mason, do you have any questions for Dan?
I have a question.
Yeah.
So I really, really liked how you talked about the co-learning with teachers and students. So does that happen during the school day or during a lunch period, or like do you dedicate like a segment out of the day and shorten the other class periods? Like
Yeah.
how do you structure it?
What a great system question. Thank you. We do it. We have advisory period every morning. We call it mentor time at our schools, but it's an advisory program like lots of schools. And so we dedicate every Wednesday an advisory for juniors and seniors is part of the college process. And so it starts in the fall of their junior year. And so that's, I don't know, like 80 different Wednesdays or something over the course of that time. And sometimes it's a webinar. And then sometimes it's like more like a work day following up from a webinar where you might review just 5 minutes of the webinar and get everybody back to work. But we put it in that advisory time, and specifically we dedicate Wednesdays to it because it's the highest attendance day of the week. And so that we make sure that if that's the day we're going to give that really essential information, it's on the day with the highest historic attendance.
Got it. And I have one more follow-up question.
Yeah.
So how have like the teachers reacted or responded to the weekly learning, and how do you like make sure that the students are retaining the information and remember when college applications come around? Because if we spend lots of Wednesdays, sometimes it gets hard to remember certain things, or like, do you do a recap?
Yes, great question. So there are a couple of things we do. One, part of like our like the board arrangement in our classrooms involves the deadlines for the colleges that our students apply to. So that's just like permanently there. The webinars are also hosted on a website so that you can go back to them. We actually have them in Canvas. We use Canvas as our learning management system so they can go back to them. And then we use, like you just mentioned, a recap often. If it's like a part two where like we learned a lot last week, but now we need to like spend some time filling out the Common App or looking at FAFSA. We'll do like a recap before that work time. And as far as the teachers engaging, one of the things we use in our advisory system is we have about 20 to 25 students per advisor. They start freshman year and go all the way through the 4 years. And so by junior, senior year, there's a lot of connection and relationship there. And also that teacher is only responsible for 20 to 25 students completing. And so we actually don't have a dedicated college counselor like Jasmine. I really wish we did. We don't have that at our size, but so every teacher ends up becoming kind of a college counselor without the level of expertise that Jasmine would bring to it. But they learn alongside the students and they have a smaller group and they usually know the families really well because of the way we do like relationship building. And that breaks down some of the barriers for FAFSA as well. Yeah, great questions. Thank you.
I really admire how you guys structured it. I've never seen something like that, so
Thank you.
it's really nice to see how
Thank you.
much you guys support your students.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Mason?
to go off of Anshul, I really liked the pizza night idea. I think that is definitely an idea that will get a lot of support and get a lot of students and families in, especially when they no longer have to deal with dinner that night. I do have one question. How are students receiving, like not receiving, but are they open to this type of training? Are they open to this type of advisory period? How are they receiving? Like how are they feeling about it?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, it's one of the things when students are choosing the school that we're at, it's something we talk about a lot. So they often know in the front end. So many times that's one of the big things that the student family both want, which is this like mentor that they know they can be their point of contact. But students like they vary, like every young person, every person is different and people have really different backgrounds and histories, and like associations with college and there's a lot of identity kind of threat and stereotype threat and all kinds of imposter syndrome and things. So we work with our students a lot. It's an emotional experience. I know you all are going through it right now. I've had a lot of seniors over the years crying in my office because it's overwhelming. It's just an overwhelming experience and it's a big deal and they know it. And it's very, very hard. And so we take lots of walks, we do lots of long conversations, lots of phone calls with families, lots of meetings to help people both navigate the system, but also navigate the decision, right? Because filling out the FAFSA is really a pain. And when it's done, you're actually now left with this incredibly complex decision with a lot of impact. So we just try to be really in it with our families and young people. And some of our young people do really don't want to do the FAFSA because they have a very clear next step that they want, like they're going to be in the military or something, and they don't need the FAFSA. We will still work with that student and family to try to just get it done because for two reasons. One, if you change your mind, it's done. And two, if you ever want to go back to school, it's good to have already gone through that process once and go through it in a way that's really, really supported. In the way we're able to, the way they do at Granger, the work that College Success Foundation does, where you're really walking through it with people, especially if the young person is going to be the first person in their family to attend college. It's likely a new process for everyone involved. And even if you're going to go back at, say, 25, it's really great if you've done it once at 18 because you'll have some memories around that. And also a belief, like a real belief in self that you deserve that opportunity. And we believe that deeply. And I always tell a story that I had a young person, I'll leave their name out of it. I was at a prior school, Summit Sierra, and for months and months at Flint, and she would curse at me and curse at me. I am effing not going to fill that out. And then she finally did, and she got admitted to Eastern Washington, and she enrolled that day and is now has a degree from Eastern Washington. The being admitted to college was so meaningful for her sense of self and identity that it changed her mental model, like in that exact moment. It was a beautiful moment. So yeah, thank you, Mason.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's an incredible story, Dan. Thank you so much for sharing. And again, congrats on 88% completion. That's huge. We had Misha, unfortunately, one of our students who had to go because she had a doctor's appointment. But we now have Danielle Denny, who is from Nia Bay Junior Senior High School, who had 84% completion rate over in Nia Bay, which again is the far northwest corner of Washington State. And Danielle, thank you so much for being here. How did you achieve that success?
We have, first, can everybody hear me okay? All right, jumping in last minute. I do apologize for being late. I had this stuck in my head as tomorrow's, and we're about to enter into parent-teacher conferences here. So, we did have an 84 completion rate. By the end of the school year, we actually got it up to 100% of our seniors completed their FAFSA. And so we have an amazing counselor. Last year was her first year, and so she just bugged and bugged and bugged them. She's really closer to their age, so having that little bit of an age difference, plus a community member who's gone through the process herself, um, just kind of really helped encourage our seniors to apply and or to fill out the document. I think a lot of the issues we see here, we're in a very small rural Native American community, and people have this fear of being open with finances here. The perspective is everything with our students, and somebody learning, okay, that's what my parents' income actually really is, was a stigma we were fighting a lot last year. But we had our great counselor Vontae and College and Success Foundation come in and just really encircle our kiddos and support them and find private places for them to do the work and ask questions if they needed to. The tribe has a great higher ed program that comes in and works with our kiddos all the time. And it's just, we have a very all hands on deck with our kids between the tribe and the school and parents and teachers. And so that's how we were. And right now we're already at 50% completed.
Yeah, that's incredible. After only 3 weeks into it, you've got 50%. You're halfway there.
Yeah.
Amazing.
I mean, it helps that it's a smaller senior class, but no, we have Vontae, I can't sing her praises enough as a school counselor coming in her second year and just really uplifting kiddos and getting them these opportunities to do the work.
Great. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for sharing. It sounds like it really is about relationships with the students that drives the success. Great. Yeah. Aanchal or Mason, do you have any questions that you'd like to ask Danielle?
I just want to admire the connections that you have with the local community. I think especially bringing in the local tribe to help bridge those connections, especially in private rooms, is just admirable.
Thank you. No, it's great. We've been really working hard at establishing it's interesting because we are a state school in middle of a reservation. For the longest time, we didn't have a lot of connection to the tribe. In the last few years, a little bit since pre-COVID, we've been really working on building up those relationships so that the students can see that our community also believes in them and wants them to succeed.
I have a quick question for you. So you mentioned that sometimes children or families have a hard time, like, or they don't really feel comfortable with sharing their financial status, or it can link sometimes to mental health. And I guess, like, for me as a student, sometimes my parents might have influenced me in some way or another that I didn't want to share some information, or they said, maybe don't share this information. And in my head, I kind of told myself, okay, that's not a good idea. And it kind of impacted me mentally. And so I wanted to ask you, like, do you think the stress comes from parental pressure about sharing financials, or is it from child to child interactions and everyone's kind of more insecure about it, or that's why they kind of are leaning not towards filling out FAFSA?
I would say it's both. Our fisherman community would the parents would influence them more than those who work the regular 9 to 5 jobs. But we also peer to peer that need to hold up their social status. So a lot of it is just finding somebody who's going to connect with them. Because we also have our shop teacher and one of our math teachers really encircle our seniors. And if Vonde didn't have a connection with them, one of the other people had a connection, and we're able to meet with them and embrace them and say, okay, I get this is frustrating or this is scary situation, but this is information that can surprise you on the kind of grants and financial opportunity that's available to you, because we're learning more about the fishing community and how that's not taxable for income and that it doesn't really count towards anything. And it's all very new to us right now and how it's impacting our students. But it's thankfully have enough local people in our school that know how to navigate that world.
Thank you for the work that you do. You're impacting a community that has never really experienced FAFSA and all of this process. So it's really inspirational that you're bringing this to a whole new crowd and kind of helping them uplift. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, again, congratulations on 100% completion. That's incredible. And you did mention College Success Foundation, which is a great segue into Raul, who will share some of the strategies that College Success Foundation shares with schools across the state. So, Raul, it's all yours.
Can everybody see my screen? With that, yeah, my name is Raul with the College Success Foundation. Specifically, I'll be talking about kind of our statewide initiatives, how we're reaching out to different schools across the state of Washington. I am from a team of 6 of us known as Regional College Access Managers. So 5 of us are covered in 5 different areas of the region. I cover the Northeast region of the state. And so one of the things I definitely want to highlight of the work that really impacts FAFSA completion is partnerships across the state. So specifically, the Washington Student Achievement Council, we have a great relationship with them. We actually meet. We have been meeting for the last few years on the summer to get together to support students, especially with the College Bound program, really encouraging students to look into that. With the Gates Foundation, specifically the Limitless program, the Aspire mentorship through Eastern Washington University, and various other local nonprofits across the state as well. Specifically, our work is through schools and school districts. We are more of a capacity building to support the counselors, teachers, principals, and administrators when it comes to FAFSA completion rates, FAFSA support, completing that. And then the community colleges and universities themselves to navigate who needs support in the regions, how do we support them? And the best way we reach out to new counselors, especially with the turnover in public schools with counselors and college and career readiness advisors, is by monthly newsletters. Send them out every 2 months to public schools. I myself tend to search for, oh, is this a new person? Let me add them to my newsletter. And then share information about best practices for FAFSA, information about how we support as well. And so this is specifically where we start off is the trainings themselves. We provide trainings like going over the FAFSA line by line. We want to make sure that the teachers, counselors, anybody and community members that want to get involved, that want to help students complete the FAFSA, for them to feel comfortable themselves in navigating that process. So we provide in-person trainings, even virtual trainings, and for those that can't attend either one, video recordings of previous trainings that we provided to help them understand why the FAFSA, how to encourage students to complete the FAFSA, thinking about all the things that come into that, and also understanding some of the nuances with it too, because some students will run into issues. So we talk about scenarios and potential solutions, specifically how to navigate personal circumstances. Will this student qualify to be an independent student? How do we help them go through that process? The student is not having parent completing the FAFSA with them. How do we support them? How do we navigate that? What are their options? like who is the parent as well, especially if it's recent divorce. When it comes to joint taxes, it can feel like it's a little bit confusing. Like, how do you add that? My taxes were imported automatically. How does the student get helped with that? So we try to cover all these different scenarios and potential solutions within trainings, sharing updates as well for information related to any challenges with the FAFSA, glitches that may be going on, but then also resources for supporting students. So specifically, if they need to learn more about how to navigate a student going through foster care to complete the FAFSA, someone who's an unaccompanied youth, what they need, and then the type of guardianship that the student has, and if they qualify to be independent on the FAFSA. Our 5 regional college access managers do co-hosting with different schools across the region too, whether that's during the school day, like with East Valley High School, they hosted last week a session for all their seniors. We had 3 different sessions where they came in, learned about what the FAFSA is. We had them create their FSA IDs. They were able to get going through that. And those that created it, we encouraged them to do what's called scholarship applications as well, looking into that. And then the evening workshops where we encourage families to come in. A lot of it can be a lot of work, especially for rural schools. So I also provide the opportunity to hosting registration. I use Calendly specifically, so that way parents and families can sign up, and that automatically sends reminder emails. We know reminder emails are best for families because they have so much going on, and then they remember, oh yeah, I signed up for this FAFSA event. We need to go, because the student is sometimes on top of things, but at other times they're focused on other things. They're focusing on being seniors, and we want them to enjoy their senior year of high school as well. Eventually, I am looking into shifting those sort of things to helping schools navigate school links, especially as that's going statewide as of next year. The other rest of the schools will be jumping onto that. So making sure to help them understand how to utilize school links, to remind students and families about events coming up, and then also provide session resources, event flyers, handouts for parents and families that are coming in, as well as incentives. Food brings in students and families to financial aid events. And then who doesn't like to raffle for a gift card at times? So really encouraging the seniors, hey, you're going to win a $25 gift card. Might as well complete the FAFSA with that. And then we provide the presentations or even presented ourselves about scholarships and tips, financial aid basics, and then FAFSA WASFA basics, as well as the workshops themselves for it. And then the main one also, because we can't be everywhere all at once, but we try to be everywhere where we can, is the troubleshooting support. Sometimes we know that calling federal student aid can be a nightmare for families or students, even the practitioners themselves, the counselors. So we try to do our best to be the experts everywhere we can. We try to study up, learn, research, use our network connections to understand any nuances, any changes to the FAFSA form, any issues that are coming up too. So by providing virtual support sessions for families too, I provide an opportunity for students to register for a 30-minute session over Zoom. We can have them share their screen, complete sections of the FAFSA that they're having issues with. And then also the practitioners themselves, counselors will schedule a meeting. We go over it with the student who's there in their office. We navigate the different things and help them complete the FAFSA form. Really, the focus is more on getting the students that are running into barriers, figuring out how to overcome those barriers too. And then, like I mentioned, staying up to date with FAFSA changes and errors. Like with NCAN, there's a Slack communication link where updates are happening all the time. People are putting in information like, hey, I'm having this issue, and seeing other people resolve those issues too. Like FAFSA issue alerts, that's a great way to keep up to date of, oh, students are encountering this issue. Maybe that's good to know, so that way if a student comes up, you can let them know that it's a known issue and to just hold on for a bit. And social media, specifically like Reddit, is a good source to see the issues students are encountering as well, and some of the potential solutions that others are sharing on there. It's been really great to just see different sources of how the FAFSA is being navigated, what challenges are happening, and how we can overcome them as well. And really to provide that support for our practitioners like the counselors, teachers, principals, especially in smaller rural schools that don't have dedicated college and career readiness advisors. And so our support when we go out to the different schools, we prioritize those that are low income, high needs, any with BIPOC population schools as well. We try to prioritize those over other schools whenever sessions occur. I've got to say my October is full this year. I expect it to be full every year. Last year, my December was full. Year before that, January, February. And so we see that there is a lot of support that counselors do want, especially when they're new in the role. It can be a challenge and it can be frustrating to not know how to support a student or family when you're new in the role, you're still learning. But we want to be able to provide that guidance and support for our practitioners and then provide support for students wherever we can as well. And so while we have high school advisors that are in the school specifically, our team as regional college access managers, we're there to support the counselors and community members that are looking to help to have students complete the FAFSA form. And I believe that's the end of my slide. So any questions?
Great. Well, Aanchal, I know you've got a question for Raul.
I do. I wanted to say something about the social media part that you hit on. I think social media is the best way to get to kids my age. The actual time, like the first time that I came across FAFSA was actually through an Instagram post by Lake Washington School District. And that's when I kind of thought about FAFSA and what to do and how to move forward from there. So I really do appreciate that you guys are using social media because it's a wonderful technique to kind of reach a lot of youth. And I did have a quick question. You said that you work with a lot of youth-led groups and just leadership teams in general of students. And so like me and Mason are both from the Association of Washington Student Leaders. So how can we help emphasize your movement and help with just anything related to FAFSA?
That's a great question. So, at least within the work that I do, we don't have specific groups that we work with students. Our advisors do in the high school specifically. But
Got it.
if you ever have any students that need support or need guidance, you could always go to our website, find who the regional college access manager is for the region, and then tell them that they can always ask for support, guidance. We always encourage teachers, counselors too, to reach out to us. If you know of someone that's struggling, hey, I don't know what to do with this FAFSA, or if a teacher or someone is, if you ever encounter that, just let them know, hey, reach out to them. They'll be able to navigate and help you understand best practices or things like that, or some advice too.
Thank you.
Yeah, I know as a school who has migrated to School Links, I have upcoming lessons of financial aid through School Links. So I think it's really great for your program to emphasize the link through School Links program and be able to connect that all together throughout the state.
Yes, especially because they utilize it for scholarships, everything else. And even our organization, if a school district invites us to be part of it, we can even post things like presentations and other things. So we're looking into that for the next few months. So that way we can provide the best support for school districts. So yeah, I'm glad you highlighted that.
Great. Well, now we'd like to move on to Sarah, since the Washington Student Achievement Council was mentioned just a bit ago. Sarah, what kind of resources do you have to share?
Yeah, the first thing I wanted to just jump in and answer onto your question about student leaders is we would love to connect with you. As part of the executive order, there is an advisory board that's being formed, but there are other ways to connect. We'd love to get together with a group of students and Mason and Misha, who unfortunately left, but maybe we'll watch the recording. Would love to get together with you all. We actually, I know at our next leadership meeting at WASAC, the directors of the AWSL are coming to meet with us. So it's in the works and would love to partner on that front to get this, make sure that any statewide resources, which I'm going to share here in a minute, are reflective of the experiences and the expertise that you as students share with us. So let's try and share the screen. Let's hope for the best. Everyone see some websites?
Yep.
Great, excellent. Well, first and foremost, in case there are students on the webinar, I wanted to share, and when it was mentioned earlier about the application process, these websites, I'm going to share 3 of them, and they're all fairly straightforward URLs that you can see up here in the top left. This is the WASAC apply page, and this will help students navigate which application to use, how to use it. There's application resources. privacy statements on there for the WASFA application, as well as information about the Washington College grant that Governor Ferguson mentioned. And so that's over here on the right-hand side. So I just wanted to be sure to highlight this page as well, in addition to some of our practitioner-focused resources. This apply page is a fantastic resource that you can use with students and families as well, and it's also available in Spanish. The second website I want to mention is wasac.wa.gov/training. And this is where we host our Train the Trainer, or kind of getting the movement, as I heard that word used earlier, around financial aid out there, for others to use our decks, ensuring that they have all of the information from the state perspective, the federal perspective, that they're accurate, they're complete, and so that folks don't have to rebuild their decks or rebuild their tools, and can get trained up in this content. We have basics level, we've got navigation offered, we have regional workshops, those train the trainers held around the state, as well as recorded trainings that folks can get clock hours for. So if you're a teacher or educator out there and you're looking for clock hours to get that professional development credit, they have clock hour information as well. And then there's tons of stuff over on here, the right-hand side, our events page, and how to order financial aid materials as well for schools and districts and partners. And finally, the website I want to use is our FAFSA completion website, which has our dashboard, which I saw. Jasmine, thank you for snapping a picture of it. I love it. This dashboard was recently redone, so it may look new to you if you've seen it before. And there's lots of different resources. I'm not going to go into all of them quite yet. But again, it's wasac.wa.gov/FAFSA-completion. You can navigate to all of these websites off of our main WASAC homepage. And there was a question in the chat I saw about subgroup information, breaking it down by who's accessing aid. We can't quite share that information, but because it's a little bit tricky on how you access some of that data from the FAFSA. But over on this menu over here on the right-hand side, you can get that information based on who files a FAFSA, and so versus receiving aid. And so I'd be happy to talk more about that. That's where I'd love to talk about that. But I wanted to share this dashboard and highlight the leaderboard over here on the right-hand side, where you can get a sense of kind of how you're doing compared to others in your region or your district, and then all of the other features of the dashboard. We are almost at 10,000 applications across the state. We are on our way to a great financial aid completion year.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Sarah. I really appreciate
Thanks.
it. Yeah, there's a question in the Q&A that is kind of a more systemic here, which is, with the state of the Federal Department of Education in flux, how are public schools in Washington anticipating the future of the FAFSA continuing to exist for students who are currently enrolled in high school or college?
I'd be happy to take a stab at that one, and others, please feel free to jump in. I mean, I think that's a very valid question, a very concerning question. I think I haven't heard anything in my role about the FAFSA going away or anything like that. In fact, even during the government shutdown, it's still being processed and awards are still being made. So that's really good news. But in Washington State, we are also making a lot of the legislature, the state, making opportunities available to students to access state financial aid in various means, like the WASFA application as a resource. Again, we still want students to be completing that FAFSA application if they're eligible to, because it'll maximize their aid opportunity between state and federal. But there are other ways to access some of the state aid that we do have available here in Washington as well.
Great. Yeah. And Aanchal and Mason, do you have any questions for Sarah?
I just want to highlight the completion dashboard. I believe that the completion dashboard is a great resource, especially for educators and advisors across the state to use, to go into and view, hey, what where are we at on a rank board? And then I also want to shout out the Train the Trainer sessions that you host. I believe that's also a really great resource for advisors.
Thanks, Mason. And one thing I forgot to mention when I was talking about the dashboard is Jasmine mentioned this a while ago, but there is an online secure portal where staff at schools can see the status of their students' FAFSA completion if they're working with students through a data sharing agreement process. And so if you're working at the school level and want that individualized data, please reach out to us. We want to help you get that in addition to the more aggregate data on the dashboard.
I do want to add to that. I think that would be like an underlying motivator for all of our counselors and school staff that are trying to get all of us to fill out our FAFSA forms. So thank you for sharing that.
Great. Well, we have time for final words real quick. Any final thoughts? Jasmine or Raul, do you have any final thoughts you'd like to share? And if not, that's okay. But I just wanted to make space. And then Aanchal and Mason, you will have the last words before I wrap up. Nope. Okay, great. Well, final thoughts from Mason or Aanchal, feel free.
I guess my only final thought is that I want to highlight everybody who joined as a panelist. I believe the work that the advisors and administrators, and especially Sarah and Raul, are doing across the state are just phenomenal.
I wanted to appreciate Miss Jasmine, Mr. Eflin, Mr. Rolo, and Miss Sarah, and all of our other panelists, and Mr. Eric for kind of putting this all together, because as students, I'm sure me and Mason today, both of us are walking away with so many different ideas that we can take and implement at our schools. I know that especially like in our school flyers and things like that, I wanted to do something exactly like Miss Jasmine does at Granger High School. And because I just think that like implementing FAFSA in like every small thing and making it something that everybody sees so often will kind of drill it in their minds and develop curiosity on like what FAFSA really is, and it'll kind of motivate kids to want to learn more, and parents as well. So thank you so much for giving us the opportunity to learn from you all today.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Aanchal. Thank you, Mason. Thank you, Misha, who had to leave earlier. Thank you, Danielle, who also had to take off for parent conferences, and Dan, who also had to take off, and Jasmine and Sarah and Raul. And thanks to all of you for participating and submitting questions. Special thanks to the Association of Washington Student Leaders. Their website is awsleaders.org. By the way, all of the links that were shared by Sarah will be in the follow-up email, which will receive in about 24 hours. Our next webinar, as of right now, will take place on Thursday, December 11th. We will spotlight the Pacific Science Center's statewide Science on Wheels program and discuss the program's ambitious goal to provide free STEM learning to every K-8 low-income school in Washington, and how legislative support is crucial to providing direct support to more than 52,000 students in 2027. Whether you're a policymaker, educator, funder, or STEM advocate, this session will show how mobile science education can be a game changer for equity and engagement. Registration information is on our website, educationvoters.org. Just go to events, then lunchtime webinars. Spanish interpretation and English closed captioning will be available. And if you happen to be in the greater Spokane area, please register for this year's Youth Advocacy Summit on Saturday, November 1st at Gonzaga University. Registration information is also on our website, educationvoters.org. Just go to events. Special thanks to College Spark Washington, True Measure Collaborative, and Microsoft for making this annual event possible. Thank you to each of you for joining us today. If you have additional questions or comments, please send them to me at eric@educationvoters.org. That's ARIK @educationvoters.org. A recording of today's presentation will be available on our website and will be sent to you in the follow-up email, which you should receive in about 24 hours. Please share this recording with your friends and colleagues. If you would like to learn more about League of Education Voters or support our work, please visit our website, educationvoters.org. Thank you again for attending. Each one of us has the right to feel safe and valued. Together, we will fight for a world in which true educational and economic equity exists. We look forward to seeing you at future webinars. Aanchal, Mason, Danielle, Misha, Jasmine, Dan, Raul, and Sarah, thank you again for joining us. Thank you for all you do for Washington students, families, and educators. May you have a great rest of your week.